Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Today's episode is all about worldview and our kids. So if you're a mom or a dad, you're an auntie, an uncle, a grandparent, this episode is going to be jam-packed with worldview takeaways. We're going to be talking about recommendations. I have a couple of really great recommendations for you today. I'm going to be giving my honest review of the new Michael Jackson movie, which we took our kids to see this past weekend. I actually think there are a lot of really important worldview takeaways that we can discuss with our kids if you choose to take your kids to see that movie. And then a bit later, we're going to be talking with Ethan Nicolle, who has come out with, you guys, the most amazing resource for kids. If you're a parent who is struggling to keep your kids off the screens, this is something you're going to want to check out. It's called explodeworld.com. That's just a little preview, but we're going to talk more about the resources they have available there in just a moment. But I want to start by sharing with you about a recent event I was at the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association. It's called The Cove. If you've never been to The Cove, it is a very special place. It is located in the mountains of North Carolina. It's like a retreat, and they do lots of different retreats. And I was teaching at this retreat a couple weekends ago, and it was just so special because there were a lot of older couples that have adult children who have deconstructed. And it was just so sweet watching them over the course of 3 days find one another, connect with one another, learn a bit more about what's going on with their loved one or their grown adult child who is in deconstruction. And of course, this is why my co-author, Tim Barnett, and I actually wrote our book called The Deconstruction of Christianity, because we wanted to help the church understand what's happening in this phenomenon that's sweeping up so many of our loved ones. So The Deconstruction of Christianity is not the book you would give to the person who is in deconstruction. It's actually the book you would give to their mom and dad. You would give it to their pastors. It's really a resource for the church. And so it was so sweet to be with all of these couples and get to share some of this information to hopefully help them to know how to interact with their adult child, but even more than that, to just encourage them. There is such a dark shadow that can hover when you're going through something like that. So it was so sweet to watch them encourage one another and then me get to encourage them as well. But one of the ladies that I met handed me a book. Now, I've never done this before, where somebody just gives me something in a book signing line, but I was so impressed with this resource that I wanted to share this with you, because I think that every parent with a young child, or if you're expecting, you need to get this book. And I'm going to explain why. It's called Zoom Zoom Out the Womb, and it's written by Carrie and Gary Setterberg, illustrated by Alexander Jasinski. And it is one of the most beautiful pro-life children's books that I've ever seen. And the premise of the book, as you read through it, is it's from the perspective of the baby in the womb. And look at these illustrations. They are just absolutely beautiful. And all throughout the book, you see the baby. They're in the womb and having all of these experiences, and the mom and dad are saying, "We want you to come out. It's time to play. It's time to do all that." And the baby's like, "I'm not sure the time is right. I like it in here. This is a safe place." And then they bring in the scripture of Psalm 139. He sees me in this secret place, knit my body, formed my face, and I don't think this is a race. I think I'll stay in this safe place. And of course, then you see the baby in the womb. And then what I love about this, look at all the adventures they're having with the baby in the womb there. And then at the very end, whatever child you're reading this to can share their Zoom story. So there's a little place for them to put a picture, maybe their ultrasound picture or their baby picture, their birthday, their name, their height and their weight, and who their parents are. And I just think this is such a beautiful book. In fact, I'm going to be sending this to someone in my life who is expecting their second child, and they have a toddler. And I think this would be a great book to get 2 copies of, that you can share with your toddler to help them understand what's about to happen, but also they can write down and understand that they were in the womb too. And I think what this is going to do for young kids is just really add visuals to what's really going on when the baby is in the womb, that this is a human being that's been made in the image and likeness of God. This is a fully human being, and they get to see that from that perspective. And I think what a great foundation for the biblical view of life. life. So I want to encourage you to pick this book up. You can go to zoomzoombooks.com. Let me make sure I got that right. Zoomzoombooks.com to pick up that. And I think there's more on that website, but I just really recommend this book. I read every word of it, and I just think this is so beautiful, and I can't wait to send it to people in my life that have young kids or maybe expecting young kids. I'm going to be ordering more copies for myself. So definitely check that out. Quick pause to tell you about our first sponsor, and that is Range Leather, American-made craftsmanship from Wyoming. Now, I don't know if you're anything like me, but I just can't bring myself to buy a bag or a purse made of that fake leather, that real cheap material, because it wears out, it tears easily. And so if I'm going to invest in a bag, I want it to be something that's going to last and wear in and not out. And this is why I love Range Leather. I have a tote bag that fits my computer and all of the things I need to carry around in a day, and it's so beautiful. It's just my style. I have a clutch that I carry absolutely every single day because it's the perfect size. If I don't want to carry a big bag, it fits my phone and some credit cards, cash, receipts, all that sort of stuff. But if you want to check out Range Leather, who, by the way, is a Christian-owned company, they have all sorts of smaller items that you could try to begin with, like full-grain Horween leather Apple Watch bands. They have trucker hats with little leather patches, all sorts of different things. And they have a forever guarantee that is for the lifetime of the product. And they are just wonderful. So go to rangeleather.com today and you'll get 15% off if you use the code Alisa. Again, that's rangeleather.com. Use the code Alisa. All right, the next thing I want to talk to you about is my review of the movie Michael. Now, I know I don't do a lot of movie reviews on this podcast, but I can't stop thinking about this movie. We saw it a few days ago, and I've just been thinking about it. There are so many worldview takeaways. I think also because it echoes my childhood in the San Fernando Valley. Of course, Michael's house was in Encino. I still have a niece who lives in Encino, and so it's kind of my old stomping grounds. There was a lot of nostalgia for me, and I'll just read you the official description. It says, Michael is the cinematic portrayal of the life and legacy of one of the most influential artists the world has ever known. The film tells the story of Michael Jackson's life beyond the music, tracing his journey from the discovery of his extraordinary talent as the lead of the Jackson 5 to the visionary artist whose creative ambition fueled a relentless pursuit to become the biggest entertainer in the world, highlighting both his life offstage and some of the most iconic performances from his early solo career. The film gives audiences a front row seat to Michael Jackson as never before. This is where his story begins. And so one of the reasons I decided to go ahead and review this is because this movie, for the most part, is clean. There's not, as far as I remember, any bad language. There's no sex. Of course, you know, some of his songs had innuendo and his dancing, of course, but it was generally kind of a feel-good, I would say, family film that really got me thinking about so many things, and even thinking about how I used to think about Michael Jackson growing up, because he was so famous. Like, my friends all had Michael Jackson posters in their room, and it's just hard to deny the raw and absolutely once-in-a-lifetime talent that Michael Jackson had, and just the persona that he was. And so some positives about the movie, my goodness, the acting in this movie, from the little boy that plays him as a little boy in the Jackson 5 to Jafar Jackson, who is actually his nephew. His father is Jermaine Jackson, who played Michael, Jafar Jackson. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. I mean, everybody's talking about Jafar Jackson, and he really was just stunning. I mean, at times you're thinking, who is this? Is this Michael or is this Jafar? I mean, he really just embodied Michael, from the dancing to the singing, however much of that was his voice, to just the voice and how he acted. It was incredible. But this little boy who played Michael as a young boy was also just absolutely incredible. It just kind of left me in awe of the talent. And my whole family really, really enjoyed the movie. There were things that I remembered, and my kids kept looking at me going, did that really happen? Did that really happen? Like, for example, when Michael was doing the Pepsi commercial and got his scalp burned, like, I remember that iconic photo so clearly. So it was kind of fun to share some things about my childhood with my kids. And so we talked in the car, and everybody shared their favorite moments. And as I always encourage Christian parents, don't just let opportunities slip by. When you engage with a movie or a song or a TV show, talk about it with your kids. Ask them questions like, what are the worldview takeaways? What's the worldview of the movie? What do they want you to believe about the world? What are the heroes like? What are the villains like? Do heroes really act like heroes? Do villains really act like villains? What are some biblical principles that we can appeal to process through the messages that are being promoted in this movie? Now, this movie was produced, I believe, by Michael Jackson's family. So this is not like a nitty-gritty expose on the dark side of Michael Jackson. This is very much a feel-good movie that portrays him almost sinless. And this is one of the points I brought up with the kids. This is actually my first worldview takeaway about the movie. While I'm glad that it was the kind of movie I could take my kids to, we also have to pause and go, okay, nobody is this perfect, right? The way that they portrayed Michael is almost like this sinless savior. Like he had no negative qualities at all, no negative personality traits, even the more quirky things that we all know about, like his monkey that he bought. All of that is kind of portrayed as cute and a little bit quirky. I mean, there's not really a dark side to Michael Jackson. And so one of the things that I brought up to my kids, and again, I want to do this in a way that doesn't trash the movie because we all really enjoyed it. But just to point out to them, I just said, hey guys, I just want to keep in the back of our minds, though, that movies like this are meant to portray him in the best possible light. This is portraying him as just this really, really wonderful person. And I don't doubt that he had many, many wonderful qualities, but everyone is a sinner. Everybody has sinned against a holy God, and Michael Jackson is no different. And so I think that was one of the worldview points that I was able to bring out to them. Another worldview point that I took away, and actually I think this is more of a positive one, is that I felt like this movie was very unifying. We have lived through the past several years of a lot of race tensions, race baiting, where everything has become about race. Everything is seen through the lens of race. Everybody's an oppressor or they're oppressed. And this movie just didn't have that. It didn't have that perspective. In fact, what I think it did highlight was something I actually felt as a child, and that was how unifying music like Michael Jackson's music really was. Now, I was a bit more on the legalistic side, just self-imposed legalism. I tried really hard not to listen to secular music when I was a kid. And yet I really did enjoy Michael Jackson's music, like when I would hear it in the mall and I would linger and I would go into stores and I felt like, and this was just my legalism, but I felt like if I wasn't initiating listening to it, then I could just hear it. And I do also have this vivid memory of when the Thriller video came out. We were at small group at someone's house, and after the small group, this Thriller video premiered, and the whole small group stopped to watch it. And of course, I was horrified and scandalized because it was zombies and, had to work that out. But it was just so many of these iconic moments from my childhood. But I just felt like the movie was really unifying. It wasn't pitting whites against blacks. It was actually demonstrating how there's so much that we can come together around. And so it was very uplifting in that sense. That was my second worldview takeaway. My third one was another positive one, I think, is just recognizing how different humans are from animals. Humans being made in the image and likeness of God, and then just being in awe of the talent, in awe of the creativity. We were made by the Creator. So because we're made in His image, we are naturally going to be people who want to create and be creative. And I think that was one of the takeaways for me, is just going, it's incredible the talent that humans have. Even now, when you see some of these even younger kids that are amazing singers and musicians and dancers, and it's just, it really highlights the fact that humans are not evolved primates. Humans are special creation made in the image and likeness of God. And so it's neat to appreciate the talent of human beings. Now, I think number 4, my fourth worldview takeaway that I talked with my kids about is maybe the most important one. And that is that human beings were not created to be worshiped. That is not our purpose. In fact, our purpose is to worship God. It's to actually reflect his glory. And when you have someone who is on the stage with lights and the applause and all of these things, that is always going to be corruptive, both for the person and for the audience, for the observer. I actually found myself throughout the movie feeling uncomfortable with all of the almost worship that you saw from the crowd toward Michael Jackson, almost deifying him as if he is a god. And humans are just not created to be worshiped. And so what I shared with my children was, look, it's one thing to appreciate talent and even be in awe of what someone can accomplish with their voice and with their body, with dancing and with songwriting and all of those things put together. It's okay to appreciate that. But we were not created to receive worship or to give worship to other humans. And when that is taking place, we will be outside of the true bullseye of our purpose for this life, and we won't be able to find the deep abiding joy that can only be found with living within our purpose, which is to glorify God. And so that was one of the, I think, most important takeaways that I shared with my kids. And so I hope that's helpful to you as parents. If you choose to take your kids to go see Michael Jackson, those were my 4 takeaways. Number 1, everyone is a sinner. Number 2, it was refreshing how unifying it was. Number 3, humans are made in the image of God. And number 4, man was not created to be worshiped. All right, with that, we're going to go to our next sponsor, which is Good Ranchers, which is a home meat delivery service where better than organic chicken, grass-fed beef, heritage breed pork, and wild-caught seafood comes to your door on dry ice, ready to be put in the freezer to use whenever you're ready to cook a good meal for your family. And I love Good Ranchers. I love to just pull out a whole bunch of steaks and chicken, thaw it out, cook it up, and then keep it in the fridge so that when I need a snack or maybe some protein with my lunch, I just pull it out, warm it up. It's easy, good to go, and it's so good for me. And one of my favorite things that I'm so excited that Good Ranchers has just launched is custom boxes. I actually, right when I heard about this, I went into my Good Ranchers account and I switched my current box to a custom box, and I got to choose all the things I want in it, and it was just perfect. So if you've never tried Good Ranchers, now is a great time because you can customize your own box. So if you go to goodranchers.com, you'll get $25 off your first order with my code Alisa and 1 free meat add-on for life. Again, go to goodranchers.com and use my code Alisa. Good Ranchers, American meat delivered. And with that, I'm going to take you to a conversation I had with Ethan Nicolle, who has, along with Eric Branscombe, just come out with the coolest kids resource called ExplodeeWorld.com. This, I wish, existed when I was a kid because I would have been all over this. But I'll tell you a little bit about Ethan before we get to that conversation. So Ethan and Eric have worked together for over 12 years. They started out as head writers on VeggieTales in the House and VeggieTales in the City at DreamWorks. They worked on Babylon Bee skits. They have developed projects together at studios like Disney and Warner Brothers. Very, very cool and creative stuff. And what I love so much about Explodey Kids is that it really fosters our kids' creativity. If you're looking for something that you can put in your kids' hands instead of a screen, I want to introduce you to Explodey World. This is the coolest resource. We're going to tell you all about it. Here's Ethan Nicolle. Well, Ethan, great to have you back on the show. We first met years ago. The first time I was on the Babylon Bee podcast, you were one of the people who interviewed me, but you've been up to a lot of stuff since then. So just fill us in about what you've been up to and tell us a little bit about your new project, which I think is just absolutely amazing and an answer, I truly mean this, an answer to prayer for so many Christian parents. I really mean that. I want to dive more into that, but just let us know what you've been up to in the last few years.
Thank you. It's been a wild ride. I went from the Babylon Bee to Daily Wire because previously, before the Babylon Bee, I had worked on VeggieTales at DreamWorks and had written close to 100 episodes of VeggieTales with my buddy Eric, who was working at Babylon Bee with me at the time. We both went on to Daily Wire together. I don't know if you saw that Daily Wire had some kids content going on for a while. We created their sort of flagship TV show, Chipchilla, which is about a homeschooling group of family of chinchillas. And I felt good about it. We worked really hard on it. It was, I mean, it was a tough show to write because we're trying to write, very small. There, this family of chinchillas that lives in a house and kind of finds a lesson to, but it has to be fun and funny and silly and not feel really super over. Like we really didn't want to feel like educational in the sense that like you're doing a lesson. We wanted
Right.
anyway. So we had to learn that in VeggieTales too. But and so going through all this kids entertainment stuff, kind of seeing what works, what doesn't. Me and Eric became very passionate about making our own kids entertainment, and we have so many friends along the way. Another thing you run into a lot working for studios like Warner Brothers, Netflix, DreamWorks, there's a bunch of Christians. There's a bunch of guys that are like solid Christians. They're just working on, My Little Pony reboots and my
Wow.
Strawberry Shortcake reboots and whatever the next reboot is. They're layers down, but all these guys, they have their stories they want to tell. Most creators, have these great pitches that they have ready to go. They have all this great art, all this great stories they come up with. They're passionate about. It's real good stuff. It's not all this reboot stuff. It's not all this over politicized stuff. And it's just buried and it's never going to get made because it has to go through this process of all these executives and the kind of, and the paranoia of the market. And just there's so many factors that I was like, man, I would love for all these projects of these really good creator guys that I know and girls, and it's harder to find girls in the industry, but that and just get it straight to parents and kids. Like, let
Mhm.
that be the pitch process. Get all these like executives and stuff out of the way. And there's some great executives. There's some that give really good notes, but in general, no, they don't.
Yeah.
And over bloated, it's so expensive. So many people are getting paid that don't really, need to be part of the process, and just simplifying it. So me and Eric, when we kind of were back on our own trying to figure out what to do next, besides just looking for work, we're like, I've had this book idea in my head for a long time. And so we came with the name, This Book Might Explode. And it's not just one book. It's a book that comes out every other month. And it's a big, huge full color book that has all kinds of different stories and comics. And there you go. You have it there. I should have
Yeah.
had mine. I don't have mine.
No, okay. So Ethan, I'm seriously not just blowing smoke. I can't believe how much I love this. I love this book.
Thank you.
So
I
yeah,
love it. I'm so
so
passionate about it.
you should be, because I'm thinking about, as a parent, like I wish that something like this would have existed when my kids were younger, especially my son.
Mm.
Well, they both would have just loved it when they're older teens now, but I mean, they just would have loved this. And here's the thing that I'm thinking about. So maybe we can dive into, what you're accomplishing with this book in a moment. But as I'm looking through it, the first thing I thought was, this is a great way to get your kid off of an iPad. I know every parent, and especially I think Christian parents, because we know a lot of the
Hmm.
stuff coming in through the iPad is not going to have a biblical worldview, or even if it doesn't, it doesn't necessarily even have to be like a Bible story, but so much of what's
Hmm.
coming in through the streaming platforms for our kids, and even a lot of the books that are kind of similarly styled, like, the ones you see in Costco and things, they're just crass. They're just kind of, lowest common denominator type books. But this one is incredible because not only do you have like graphic novel type stories, but you have activities. My favorite one is how to use this page as a projectile, and you just tear out the page, crumple it up, and throw it at something.
Hmm.
So like these books are designed to be, used and colored, and I even love how there's pages where you assign for the child to finish the story and then draw a picture of it. So maybe talk a little bit about more in detail about these books, because I honestly, I want every Christian parent to get these for their kids, because not only is it not going to be importing this kind of, like you said, overly politicized, secular leftist ideology. It's not like overtly Christian either. It's not like going to be like, David and Goliath, but it's like it fosters creativity. It
Hmm.
awakens the imagination. It's like what we're looking for. It's what we want to hand our
Yeah.
kids instead of an iPad. If you've listened to this show for a while, you know that 7 Weeks Coffee isn't just a sponsor for me. It's actually part of my routine. I get my espresso beans from 7 Weeks Coffee, and it's the best coffee I've ever had. It's mold-free, low acid, shade grown, direct trade. But that's not even why I love 7 Weeks Coffee so much. I love it because it is America's pro-life coffee company, and they're on a mission to fund the pro-life movement one cup of coffee at a time. In fact, that's baked into their name because at 7 weeks of gestation, the baby is the size of a heartbeat. And that's when you can first detect a heartbeat on the ultrasound. And this is why they have committed to save lives by donating 10% of every sale to pregnancy centers and pro-life organizations all across the nation. They've raised over $1 million. And I just can't tell you how much I love 7 Weeks Coffee. So if you want to give them a try, go to 7weekscoffee.com today and save 15% forever when you subscribe. Plus, you'll get a free gift. And if you also use my code Alisa, you're going to get an extra 10% off your first order. So that's 25% total savings on your first order plus that free gift. So go to 7weekscoffee.com today and use the code Alisa at checkout. Again, 7weekscoffee.com, use the code Alisa.
Yeah, and that's really what I care about with this project. I mean, I want kids to engage with creativity and wonder and fun and laughter. These are all things that God created for man as a gift to us, and I feel like we get a little bit too holy sometimes, and we think that everything is only theology and history and is it left brain? So I always get just confused which side of the brain it is, but the super logical.
Yeah.
We want results. We want kind of like if you're going to be a Christian rock band, you need to do a altar call at the end to make sure everybody knows why you're doing this music or whatever. And so it's a tough uphill battle for us because I'm really trying to convince homeschool Christian parents, like, we live in a world of passive entertainment where kids just take in their entertainment. And now AI is creeping in. If you're sitting here with your kid watching, you're realizing a ton of the videos, if you're letting them watch any kind of streaming platforms, a ton of the videos being made. Like I'll watch, I'm a little more of a lax parent, but I'll let my son watch YouTube with me. I'll sit there and just watch it with him because there's stuff he just wants to click and check it out, and
Sure,
I can
yeah.
stop him. We can talk about it. I just would rather not totally shelter him. And so many of the videos are made with AI. It's AI voice, it's AI script, and they're just taking it in. And I really want this work, to be a work where, so every single thing that's created in this book might explode. You get to know who the creator is. And that's the main spot that any speak of God and theology might come out. So we'll talk about, like, what would you tell yourself when you were younger? And you're saying, trust the Lord, things like that. Because a lot of our creators are Christians. But my main goal for this book is just, I want guys who love making kids content. In Hollywood, there's so many guys and girls who work in kids entertainment who wish they weren't in it. They despise it. They wish they were doing something where they were expressing themselves a little more about the things they care about, the politics they care about. This is one of the reasons you get some of these things happening in some of these kids properties. You're like, what are they thinking? It's because this person wishes they were working on, like, the next David Lynch style movie, not
Interesting. Yeah.
not My Little Pony or whatever. And
Right.
so imagine if every piece of content your kids take in, who made it. You can look them up. There's an interview with them in the book. And then they know across, I want to teach kids to follow creators across works, because that's one thing we don't tend to learn. And then also the creators are inviting them. Most of the pieces that are in the book have an activity. They have an invitation to try to draw the character or finish a story or send in your ideas. Like, we have it all over the book, like, send in your ideas. And so we're not just passive entertainment, we're entertainment that's inviting kids to be a part of it. And then we're printing kids content with our content in the book. So it's more like a big playtime among professional Hollywood animators and comic book artists and kids.
It
And if
feels
you know anything
that
about my
way.
background, with Axe Cop, it's very fitting.
Well, yeah.
Are you familiar with Axe Cop?
I am not familiar with Axe Cop. Tell me about Axe Cop.
It's like a forgotten thing now, but it's what kind of launched me. I went viral for a webcomic that I made with my 5-year-old brother when I was 29, and it became a sensation comic that I did 6 volumes of Dark Horse Comics and a TV show on Fox. Nick Offerman, who plays Ron Swanson, did the voice.
There it is.
I met all kinds of worked with all kinds of celebrities, and everybody loved me for a while. So they found out I was until they saw that I worked for the Babylon Bee later.
Well, and everybody liked Babylon Bee at first too. Like I remember
Yeah.
even the progressives were like, "Oh, this is so funny,"
Oh
until
yeah.
they realized
Oh
that
no.
yeah, not
When I
anymore.
switched my job to a Daily Wire, the amount of people that were fine with Babylon Bee and angry about Daily Wire,
Oh
like you
yeah.
realize they're like almost the exact same values and everything, right? Like it's the
Oh
same. They're all
yeah. I think
friends. Like
that's kind of
people don't
obvious.
realize it.
Yeah,
Comedy
wow.
just comedy is sneaky.
Yeah, well, it disarms you, right? And
Yeah.
I think so okay. One of the things I'm thinking about is you brought up AI, and
Hmm.
I think that I mean, I think there's some good things about AI. I'm not one of those people that is like,
Yeah, I'm not
we
a
shouldn't.
hardcore anti.
Yeah, me neither. But when it comes to the world of art, though, it's terrifying to me. That
Mm.
what's in store for the future, especially when you think about, so like, they talk about Gen Z being digital natives. In other words, like you and I grew up in a world that didn't have social media, that didn't have, well, I'm guessing that. I think I'm maybe a little
Yeah.
older than you, but you didn't have internet when you were a little kid, right? Little
No,
kid.
yeah, high school. Yeah, it came out in high
Yeah,
school.
yeah, okay. So, but so the Gen Z is like growing up as a digital native. They've always had it. But now you're
Hmm.
thinking about the kids that are being born now, they're going to be AI natives,
Yeah.
meaning they don't know a world that's not completely inundated by AI. I don't know what that's going to mean. I don't know if that's going to mean that this new generation isn't going to know the difference between reality and AI, or maybe they'll be better at it. I don't know. But that's where I
Hmm.
think content like this book and the enterprise that you're working on, it's real art by real people with real human personality. And so much of it is funny. I love that you mentioned, they can send in their ideas. There's actually a QR code in there that they can send their
Hmm.
ideas, and it says like it might make it into the next book. So there's like this ongoing kind of creative process happening with the kids, which I just love. But also, it got me thinking when I was looking through this book, how they call it the sacred secular divide. I think when
Right.
I was growing up in evangelical culture, like everything was either secular or it was sacred. In other words, you have,
Hmm.
church meetings, youth group, your Christian music, you have
Yep.
all the stuff that was just Christian. And then everything else you did was secular. That was just not in the realm of Christianity, which is really not biblical because as
Right.
Christians, everything we do for the glory of God. Everything we do
Hmm.
is sacred, really, if you think about it. Because if you work
Yeah.
in a business, that's you're going to do ministry there. You're going to be a light for the Lord there. You're going to glorify God there. And so I love that this book, it's like we said, it's not like Bible stories, but it
Hmm.
fosters that creativity and the art. Ethan, this is like the level of excellence of the art is
Thank you.
it's competitive or better than anything you see on the streaming platforms and even in animated features. I mean, this artwork is incredible. Talk about some of the people involved. You've got a shout out here from the Fonz on the back, Henry
Yeah.
Winkler. That's amazing. Talk about some of the artists and some of their background.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we're not trying to get exclusively. We're not trying to make it a club for certain worldviews. We're only going to allow certain content to get out through the book. But just like with Hollywood, like one of my complaints about it is the sort of the gatekeeping there, political gatekeeping. And if I think somebody's just a great artist who makes great content, who really loves making stuff that makes kids smile, then great. Like for instance, we got Rich Werner in the book. I don't even know his worldview, but he's the guy that created Plants vs Zombies, the artwork. He
Oh
designed that
wow.
whole game, and he's just such a good guy. We've been friends for a long time. He makes this fun artwork, and so he does stuff in there. We got Doug TenNapel, who you might know as Doug in Exile from YouTube.
Yeah.
He did one in there. He's a good friend of mine. Mike Nelson from Mystery Science Theater 3000, and then we randomly got Jack Handy. If you know Jack
I
Handy,
was very
Deep
impressed.
Thoughts. Yeah.
Yes, because growing up, I remember I would, I can't remember if I would like, sometimes I admit I would sneak out of my room and like watch Saturday Night Live if it was on the
Mm-hmm.
TV in the living room. And I loved Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy. I thought that stuff was so funny. And so when I saw that he was a part of it, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Henry Winkler, hasn't anything for the book, but he gave us a shout out because I did his artwork on his last book series called Alien Superstar. It's like 3-book series. I did the artwork on it.
Very cool. Very cool.
So
So
yeah, a lot of great people.
that is so cool. So, talk about what it's like in the animation industry, because one of the things you pointed out in your email to me is that a lot of Christian families pay basically secular companies to generate the content for their kids, and just a really small amount goes to other Christian creators to create Christian content, right? And honestly, I've been encouraged to see some of that Christian content get better in quality, over
Hmm.
time and more recently. But is that like one of the things you're trying to change? Is to again that kind of sacred secular divide that we tend to kind of settle into?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm going with my gut on this, and I think that the younger generations, I think even my generation and younger, aren't quite as bought in by that. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. I could, I'm not from a totally, I grew up with hippie parents, and so I'm not. I didn't grow up in like a really sheltered sort of like Midwest family structure or like different, So I could be wrong about certain parts of the country. I've never not been a part of every part of this country, but uh, I do get the sense that I think we're ready to kind of like throw away that sort of that divide, which feels very late '90s, early 2000s.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
secular sacred divide, having the you have to be a blatantly Christian hardcore band or whatever to be cool, to be okay to listen to, and the other ones have to be burned in a barrel.
yeah.
Um,
Satanic
and
panic.
yeah, and to kind of recognize that, yeah, like we tend to we sort of compartmentalize. We buy our Christian stuff from the Christian creators, and they have to make really blatant stuff with blatant messages to let you know and signal to you that this is very Christian and it's okay. And then I think parents kind of sneak in and be like, "Oh, we can watch Minions tonight," or "Okay, you can watch this show on Netflix or whatever." And like, we hand that whole part of the industry to the mainstream kind of industry, and like, I don't see why we can't have. And then most of the Christians I know are working behind the scenes on those things because they, I would love to see some of these Christian creators getting the chance to just make great stuff,
Yeah,
rather than this divide where, like, if you want to make anything as an outed Christian, it has to be some kind of Bible story. It has to be some kind of thing like that. And you know, God created this entire world. He created every animal. He created the amount of creativity that went into this creation that he built for us. Like, creativity is an inherent part of God and of what He put in us. It's what makes man. Chesterton said that art is oh my gosh, I lost my quote. This is the signature of man, something like that. It's because he points out that man was there in the cave when there's cave drawings, because no other animal draws unless you
right.
train them to mimic. But like no other creature looks out at something and wants to observe its beauty and imitate it through artwork. That kind of thing is something that
Yeah,
is only it lets you know it's man. It's a miniature God.
yeah. So, what's it like to be a Christian in that industry? You mentioned there are Christians kind of working behind the scenes with some of those more secular shows. I mean, I can imagine what it would be like. Is it the kind of thing where you have to almost kind of keep your worldview to yourself because obviously the secular world isn't too crazy about a truly biblical worldview these days? But
Hmm.
what is that like navigating that?
I mean, I think that it depends on who you work for and where you're at, and how good you are at, because my buddy Adam Yenzer, he's a comedian. He never hid his views at all, and he did great. He was a writer on Ellen and stuff, and he's done great, though. He hasn't had a writing job in a while, but
Mm.
that's the thing, you never quite know. But it is just scary. Like, you're just scared, like, about the thing is, like, people with the other side, the other way point of view, like, they have no fear to say what they think, like in the
Right.
writer's room or wherever you are. They're all talking about it, and so you're just sitting there quietly, like, you start to catch on that all the quiet people probably are conservatives.
Right. That should not be
uh,
the way it is, though.
yeah.
I hate that it's that
um
way. But do you feel like
yeah.
it's changing a little bit? It seems like, with the whole vibe shift everyone's talking about, it's maybe not as strong as a vibe shift as it was a year or so ago, but I don't know. Do you feel that at all?
I think they're trying to figure out what to do. Yeah, the shift is because it all moves slow. So stuff that started getting worked on, however many years ago, is coming out now. So like, if there's a delay. You kind of see stuff coming
Mm,
out that feels now because things have changed so fast. Um, I haven't worked in like really in Hollywood pretty much probably ever since became the creative director at the Babylon Bee. I went on to Daily Wire, and now I don't know if from my resume if I would ever get work in Hollywood again, but we'll see.
yeah. Well, Tell us about how this book works. So I know there's a website. There are even, I
Mhm.
think I saw that there's interactive sessions with some of the authors. Maybe I'm not saying that right, but this is a subscription. So you get a
Mhm.
new one of these. So like this, if anyone's watching on YouTube, let me go to full screen here. This is like the volume one, and then you
Mhm.
get a new volume every couple of months, I think you said. And
Every other month.
it's just amazing. It's filled with activities. There's all
Yeah, so
kinds of geez, it's just incredible, absolutely incredible. So talk a little bit about how it works, how people can sign up, and what they're going to get, and what is available to them through the website and all of that.
f so right now, we're running 2 separate deals. I can give you the links to those. One is either you wanna get a bundle of the first 3 and just try them out. You can get a bundle. It's basically like you're getting 2 for the price of 3, 3 for the price of 2, other way around.
Okay.
And, or you can do a subscription, which, you save a ton of money on cover price through the subscription. You get 1 every other month. Every book comes with a print pack that's you scan and you get a print pack that's a digital file. If you want to, it has all the files in the book that are interactive. So if you don't want to write in your book or cut your book up, you can print them out that way. And it also
Oh,
has
that's
a bunch
good.
of bonus content in the print pack. So most of the print packs have around 60, 70 pages and there's like around 20 pages of extra stuff. Um, so I'll give you the links to those 2 things. And the book it's partially continuous. So there's like 4 or 5 stories in there that continue from book to book.
I noticed
And
that in volume two, it was like started with chapter four, and I was like, oh, I bet you the first three chapters
mhm.
are in volume one.
Yeah, so it's part of the fun of it. I mean, my kids. The funny thing is, my kids are dead honest. I've had content that I've made before, and they won't fake that they like it.
Oh, yeah.
And my kids, all my 2 youngest, they love this book. It shows up, and it lasts us a good couple of weeks at bedtime, just story time wise.
Yeah.
Because my goal with this is like I think a lot of content in kids content is either activities or story, and mine really is a big mix of both. Like you get a bunch of characters and content and worlds building, and you get activities mixed in with it. It's not really an either or. It's really mixed together. Um,
Very
so yeah,
good.
I
And
mean,
then what
did
age
I answer
group?
that right?
Yeah, that was
Well,
great. What age group is this mainly aimed at?
we say because I think that a lot of times things are aged too narrowly in kids content because especially younger kids they take in all kinds of stuff. So as long as it's not bad for them, it
Mhm.
might go over their head. But you know, so I think anywhere from picture book age, whatever, 3, 4 years old, is where they understand words. Because we actually have picture book content in the book too. We have a couple of
Yeah.
actual picture books as part of the book. But my kids who are older, like 8 and 11, like reading that book too. It's really funny. Um, but yeah, up to like I'd say around 11.
Okay.
So
Sounds good. And then, so what if there's a kid that's not particularly into art? I mean, is there still something for them? Like if they're not necessarily kids that like to draw, I mean, I feel like it would inspire them to try, but what do you think about
yeah,
that?
no, I think there's all kinds of stuff in there that they don't have to want to draw. I think it's a lot of it's more like fun games. It's like finish this drawing and do something funny. Or it's they're exercising like their humor muscles. Or,
Yeah.
but there's plenty of content just to read. Like it's the majority of the book, a large chunk of it is just content to take in and read and enjoy. And
Yeah.
so there's plenty of that for anybody who just likes good stories. And there's a good variety. We have everything from we have like kind of a medieval adventure story called William the Last about a boy who has mysterious past. He lives in some fantasy world. Um, we got kind of this kind of medieval fairy tale style thing called Timber Myth. My book, Legion of Fluff, is about a kid with a bunch of stuffed animals that come to life to fight an army of goblins in his apartment complex. We have Fish Can Talk. It's a fun sort of roll doll style story. So we had a lot of different fun stuff in there.
And you know what I
Oh,
like
Corn
too?
Dug. Everyone's favorite
Oh,
character is Corn Dug.
corn
He's
dug.
our,
Yeah, I saw that. That
yeah.
that looks good too. And what I like about it too is that in the same book you can have different reading levels. So,
Mhm.
I noticed that some of them are more simple, and then there's some that have more words. So that actually challenges. It's always better to read up. Like I
Mhm.
read books that I don't fully understand because it's just better for my brain to have to challenge myself to try to read that. So even if maybe the kid isn't like the greatest reader yet, there's going to be lots in there that they can read, but also get challenged a little bit to read up a little bit And then it's just, honestly, I think about a kid that I know that has some learning disabilities with reading. Like, I feel like a book like this would be excellent because it's engaging with the pictures. It's not too much. I think like big old
Yeah.
thick chapter books get really intimidating for some kids, but
Yeah.
because there's
Yeah,
different.
every page has images, artwork
Yeah.
on it. There's no walls of text to the book.
Yeah, exactly. So good. All right. Anything else that you want to let parents know about Explodey Kids? I will definitely link all of the places for them to subscribe and look at explodeyworld.com. Is there anything else you want to let our parents know about?
Yeah, it's just if it sounds good, please check it out. If you're loving it, we're looking for ways to market it that are unnormal. Like, we're looking into if there's bookstores in your area or any other families or co-ops or whatever. I really believe in getting homeschoolers into this. I think homeschoolers tend to, obviously it's education, but like
Mm-hmm.
trying to get more of just like creative exercises for homeschoolers. And then I would
Yeah.
like to say just to your audience, because last time I was on, it was for my Chesterton book. I have been doing a Chesterton podcast, also called Chesterton's Gateway. It's my
Oh,
labor of
nice.
love. But if you like Chesterton or struggle with Chesterton, me and my very, very smart college professor buddy, who is like a medieval expert and everything
Nice.
expert and Tolkien expert, we actually go paragraph by paragraph. First, we went through all the essays in my book, which are a good introduction to Chesterton, and now we're going through Orthodoxy, which is his most famous book about why
Yeah.
he's a Christian or a Catholic, and we're almost done with it. So it's a great resource for if you just want to go back and read through it, and you got one dumb guy, that's me, and then you get like a really smart guy, and that's
Well,
Mike, and we go
I'm not
through
sure
and
that you're the dumb guy, but I read
in that group I
Orthodoxy.
am.
Yeah, well, I guess we're all the dumb guy in some group. But yeah, Orthodoxy, what a fantastic book. That was back way, maybe
Amazing.
almost 15, maybe 12, 13 years ago when I was coming out of my faith crisis. It was one of the first books that I read. And I was so thrilled by that book. I loved that book. I love Chesterton. And I will just say this too, as I'm looking through these books as a mom, when my kids were younger, I remember every time we had to go on a long trip, like an airplane, I would try, not always successfully, but I would try to keep them off the iPad. And
Yeah.
and so I was always looking for activity books or something that I could give them that would keep their attention. I wish that this book would have existed back then, because this is perfect
Yeah.
for an airplane. But I also want to encourage like any pastors or children's ministers. These are great books to have in your children's ministry, just available for kids, just to spurn that what's the word I'm looking for? That creativity, and something that's going to be not, indoctrinating them with all of the crazy that's in our culture right now. So I'm so thrilled you've made this book. I really hope to see this succeed so well. So I just want to
Thank you.
encourage every pastor and parent who's listening to this, go to explodeyworld.com and subscribe. You get a big discount if you do the annual version. And otherwise, you can do your monthly. So check all of that out. And Ethan, thanks so much for joining us today. And I would just wish you the best with this book. And let me know if there's anything else I can do to help promote it. Because I think I truly mean it. It's just so cool.
Thank you. I'm so glad you like it and get it, because that's been the challenge. I think, but once you hold it in your hand, you go, oh yeah, okay, I get this.
Oh yeah. For sure. All right. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
So pray for me and I will pray for you. No time